Welcome to Deep Waters, a podcast where we understand ourselves and others through our strengths, with your host, John Gibson. Well, hey, welcome to the Deep Water podcast. I'm your host, John Gibson. I am joined here today by my friend Kyle. He's sort of the sacrificial lamb as we get rolling with this. So I am grateful to him for his willingness. Thank you, Kyle, for being part of this, being the experiment sort of about this. And Kyle is, you can introduce yourself if you want.
It is an honor to be on Deep Water Podcast. It's all uphill from here from a guest perspective. Just kidding. But grateful to be a part of this and talk about strengths, and appreciate John's friendship, and excited to follow this podcast journey for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's jump in. I mean, with your top five are empathy, developer, harmony, includer, adaptability. So all of those pretty much, I mean, most of those are relationship building strengths. Talked in the strengths world about the four domains of strengths. So there's executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. And so all five of your top five are in relationship building. So I'm always curious too whether that surprises people when they see sort of a cluster of things like that, or
it's not surprising to me.
Okay.
I think what's interesting, John, is I first completed the strengths assessment before I serve as a pastor now. So I completed it when I was in youth ministry, but before I became a lead pastor, before I was a dad of twins.
Okay.
And really at a different stage in my life, but really a constant for me has been just a desire to have strong relationships. And relationships have impacted my life for the better. And probably the high points of my life have been when I've been a part of community.
Okay.
And so I have been on the receiving end of great relationships that have benefited me.
Yeah.
And because of that, I desire to foster and build relationships with others. And so really, as my life has evolved and changed, and vocations have changed, and my family has grown, and I've moved, relationships have been a constant and a desire, to build upon, to foster, to grow. And, really it's not surprising. And one of the reasons that, I know we'll probably jump into it, but I really like the Strengths Finder is I really felt like it had I felt like it got a good grasp of me.
Oh, good.
And I felt like it and I liked that, it gives you five, because you're not just pigeonholed into one thing, but
Sure.
but that theme of relationships, and I think kind of community and unity kind of encapsulated the five that I were drawn to. And so relationships has just kind of been that constant, and I'm grateful for our relationship.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, so am I. Yeah, actually, it's funny because lots of people laugh when they see that I have zero relationship building strengths in my top 10 even. But one of the things I talk about a lot when I talk to people about strengths is the fact that all those domains are really motivators. Like our strengths are the things that motivate us because we do them so naturally. And so it would make sense that things that come natural are the things that motivate us. And so even, again, looking at your top five, I mean, empathy, all about high emotional intelligence, creating space. And before you just had twins, before that you were the only male in the house.
Exactly.
So I mean, what was that like, even from an empathy standpoint?
Right. That's a great question. I think empathy has been, well, I was reading this, in anticipation of our discussion, and one of the things that I believe was in the book or about empathy that I really resonated with was there was a line that said, "It doesn't mean you agree with everyone or that you see things the same way, but you're willing to kind of place yourself in their shoes, or try to see things from their perspective."
Hmm.
And so I've always had a desire to do that, whether I'm, as a dad or whatever our families look like. I've tried, and we're all imperfect, so I'm not perfect at that always. But I've tried my best to say, how does this make her feel, or how does
Hmm.
she see this,
Yeah.
and for better or for worse,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that part of empathy has been something that has traveled kind of with me, and it's kind
Okay.
of always on my radar. How does this person feel
Yeah.
in this setting? As a pastor, how is this person hearing what I'm saying or seeing this? Or at the grocery store, how does this person? I don't know what does their world look like, and how
Right.
can I encourage them in it? And
Hmm.
so empathy's just been that constant. And I think one thing that I just mentioned a second ago, but I really connect with is, the difference between empathy and sympathy.
Hmm.
You're not always going to agree maybe with everyone,
Sure.
but empathy, I feel like, is really powerful because it humanizes others, where you're able to understand them, and I think we can love people through that a little better.
Sure. Oh yeah, yeah.
So
No, that's great.
yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah. So then, empathy developer is one of yours as well. Your number two, which is all about sort of seeing the potential in people, seeing that we're all works in progress, investing in things. Um, some would say, and just in the time that I've known you, I would definitely say that you always have a very calming sort of level
nice.
presence.
We'll take it.
I'm sure that isn't always the case
Yeah,
because hey,
yeah,
life happens, right? But just that sort of patient, like, hey, let me just go into this with sort of a level-headed
yeah.
approach towards things.
It's interesting. You hear the word developer,
Uh-huh.
and when I was looking at the strengths, you know, reading the description of it, I think when you hear developer, sometimes you think, all right, this guy or this man or woman is a develop something from scratch, right?
Okay.
And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I don't know if I am a great that, but I
Mhm.
think when you hear about or that description of trying to seeing the best in something,
Mhm.
even if the situation is maybe a little bleak.
Sure.
And I want to be known as somebody that does
No,
that,
that's
as a
yeah.
in any setting.
Oh
And
yeah.
so yeah, when you hear the word developer, I think it does throw you off a little bit because you think that, maybe building something out of nothing. And there
Yeah.
may be another strength for that. I'm
Sure.
not sure if there is, but that develop. I think the developer of like seeing the potential in things
Yep.
is,
Yep.
I think we wrote that down, but
Yeah.
that is important to me,
Mhm.
and so I strive to do that.
And when you say that, there's a sculptor. I don't remember if it was a famous one or
Yeah,
who it was, but I remember that they were interviewed, and someone was asking, like, how do you know what you're going to sculpt, and they
yeah,
basically said it's in there already.
that's true. Yeah,
You just have to like get it out. And so even
mm,
as you say that about developer, it's almost like, hey, I meet somebody, it's there,
right, right.
like, but part of your gifting is the ability to be able to say, hey, I'm going to discover what that is, and then I'm going to help them
We
draw
can
that
work with
out.
that. Yeah,
So
yeah, and I think
yeah.
it also, being a developer, you see the worth in others, right? You
Hmm.
don't think, all right, or we need something completely new, or we got to uh, build something from scratch, or we need new people. It's more, hey, um, and I think it ties back into relationships, right? Hey, we're in this community, and as a developer, hey, what is how can we become the best version of ourselves, I
Right.
guess, and
Yep.
see the potential in others. So
Yeah.
when reframing, I think that word developer, I think that helped me to kind of connect with that a little bit
Hmm.
better.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we talk in ministry all the time about this idea of discipleship and transformative
Right.
like work, and so
Yeah.
even I appreciated some of the language you used too of seeing that potential in people, helping them to realize it and see it in themselves,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then to help them to realize, like, hey, this is how you were wired, this is how you were created. Like,
yeah.
how do you like live into the best of that? So
John, thinking about what we're talking about here, so often in our day and time, I think we really are quick to compare ourselves to others and
mhm.
or our setting to others, or
Yeah.
maybe want what others have or
Hmm.
be like somebody else. And I think it's really refreshing to um, I think this conversation that we're talking about is about, hey, let's be the best we that we can be, or the best me that I can be,
Hmm.
rather than try to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And man, that's easier said than done,
Oh
because
yeah.
we all, we all want to be like, we all want to strive to be like somebody we look up to, right?
Oh sure. Yeah.
But I think that speaks to, hey, let's not try to compare ourselves in our job, or as a parent, or as a employee, but to say, hey, I'm me, and
Hmm.
so let me reach my own potential and be the best, the best person that I can
Yeah.
be. And I don't know.
No, that's
Yeah.
good. I appreciate that. Yeah. So empathy, developer, and then harmony. Harmony is the common ground sort of strength, the one about. And I'll often talked with people about the fact that harmony comes in three shapes and sizes. Sort of. There's the run and hide harmony as soon as conflict comes. There's the stand in the middle and try to
Yeah.
bridge the gap
Yeah.
harmony, and then there's like almost antagonistic, like throw it on the table
Right.
and force people to talk
For
about
sure.
it. I mean, you resonate with any one of those more than
Yeah. Well, and I tell you this as a disclaimer, John, and I'd like to think, and I'm aware from a probably a I'm not sure the word I would use, but maybe an awareness perspective,
hmm
that I probably don't know what uh, deep conflict feels like. I've been very fortunate, and I know and so I'm sure there might be people listening or that have experienced what real conflict feels like, whether it
hmm
be in a family setting or in a who knows what. And so I recognize that piece, but um, I've always been a believer in working for unity, and
hmm
there I just don't think there's obviously sometimes conflict might be necessary when there is obviously bad things happening, right?
sure.
But um, I guess I could see. I don't consider myself the run and hide kind of person.
hmm
I think as I've grown up, right, and I'm still a work in progress. Maybe I would used to be that, right, like from afar.
Yeah.
But I think now I would like to think of myself as being that kind of person in the middle that's
mm
trying to hold people together. And I think I've maybe shared this with you before. I do feel like the older I've gotten, I've grown in my voice a little
hmm
bit, and maybe there's a difficult phone call I've not wanted to make that's been hard. I'm more willing to do that,
Yeah.
or reach out to somebody and have a conversation. Whereas maybe in a previous season, I would maybe send that email and hope that that would just smooth things over, or
Sure.
kind of just wish the conflict away,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that's or send a text, right?
hmm Yeah.
But I think I am more comfortable having those conversations. But I wrote this down in anticipation. But I think Psalm 133:1, how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity.
hmm
And not everybody listening to this podcast may be a person of faith, which is all good. But I think in general, it is a beautiful thing when we live together in unity. And I, especially in today's climate, man, it's worth working for.
Yeah.
And I think I go back to empathy. I think what's awesome about empathy and harmony is, doesn't mean we agree, but we can see things through other people's perspective,
Yeah.
and we can still be united
hmm
even with differing
Right.
opinions. And man, our world needs more of that.
Yeah, no, that's a good segue because that was one of the things I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
Is just, I mean, this cultural, political, like
yeah, yeah.
temporal moment, right?
Hmm.
There's such a need for that.
For sure.
So I think voices like you talk about learning and feeling more comfortable with your voice
Yeah.
too. I think if there's ever a moment that we need people
Mm.
who can who can do that and say, hey, at the end of the day, like, we may not agree. We may still have our hold to our opinions or
Yeah.
whatever and
Yeah.
our convictions, but if we have a better understanding of one another,
Right.
if there can
Right.
be a little bit more unity, and yeah, I think that that happens again. The relational side of who you are, I think relationships take time.
They do.
They take
Yeah.
investment
Yeah.
and nourishment and all of that stuff. And that's why I think people with relationship building strengths high have so much more patience to go, hey, like, we're gonna settle in here for
Yeah.
the deep work that we
Good
need to
point.
do, you know.
Well, absolutely, and not steering us off course, but my wife and I, Lisa and I, talk about this all the time. How ideally, we all just wish we could kind of snap our fingers and a relationship be what we want it to be.
Sure.
But whether it be with a friend or a neighbor, and
Hmm.
they really don't. The deep relationships don't work that way. They take time and
Right.
understanding and conversations, and you got to keep showing up for people,
Hmm.
and then eventually that relationship becomes deep. We didn't record this podcast when you and I met a year and a half
Right.
ago, right,
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
little over a year
Yeah.
ago. We're like, who's this guy? But our relationship has grown over time, and
Yeah.
so I think you just need to keep showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up for
Yep.
people, and the more conversations we have, the easier it is to work through when differences do
Mm,
come up.
so good. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. Now, okay. So number four for you is includer. Again, it's funny because woo is an influencing strength, and it may look similar to includer, but includer is all about like, hey, who's missing here? Because relationally,
Right.
you want to make sure again, hey, people are on the margins. We didn't leave anybody out. Everyone's feeling, hey, we've widened the circle, we've accepted
Yeah.
and stuff. So, anything more to say about like includer in terms of how you
Well,
see it?
you know, in general, John, what again? I go back to just like my view on the strengths in general is it's kind of like this memory lane of your life. I feel like
Mm,
because when I think about all five of these things, I see how I've had to use these things, and
mm-hmm.
I think back to times like I think why includer showed up on my five is I probably remember times probably in my younger years where maybe I did not feel included,
Yeah.
and how man that hurts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes you crave empathy, and that makes you crave harmony, and
Sure.
develop. And so, but I also remember times when I was included, and
Mm-hmm.
man, that feels so good. Like, and
Yeah.
so I think that one just simply comes to a place of like, man, I want people to feel included and seen and
Right.
heard, and in our church, in wherever they may be, like
Yeah.
at all the pickleball courts, like I just want people to feel included,
Yeah.
and because it's just that there's really few worse feelings than not
Hmm.
feeling
Oh yeah.
included, and that those
Yep.
can be the most hurtful moments, no matter what age you are. We probably like to think that that's just a teenage years thing, but it's not.
Mhm.
Like
No, no,
as
no.
adults, we feel
Oh,
excluded
absolutely.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Then rounding it out with number five is adaptability, the ability to change quickly, to live in the moment. God has blessed me with a wife who has adaptability, which is a gift. So I'm sure that Lisa probably sees your adaptability as a gift as well, to be able to sort of shift. Pivot is the word that I've had to embrace in like my journey over the last 5 years, because it wasn't a natural rhythm for me to go, hey,
Yeah,
let's like pivot with stuff.
yeah,
And I appreciate the imagery too that I've seen before around adaptability. Is if you think about a river or a stream, how
mm,
over time that pathway changes a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
It's not always the same. It has to sort of adapt
Mhm.
to that, and I see that as a picture of
No doubt.
people who have that strength and
Yeah,
how they
yeah.
do that. So,
It, I don't know if you feel this way, John, with strengths, but sometimes I do consider myself adaptable. I almost think of the five adaptability is one of those things, man, I want to be known for that,
Hmm.
and so, um, want to be like, a person of peace where like, oh gosh, Kyle is just calm no matter what is happening,
Hmm.
and I do strive for that. And Lisa and I were joking a little bit, earlier about adaptability, and you kind of have to be. You're a dad of three, and you're a pastor and a world class cyclist, and all these things. And so, I mean, you have to be adaptable when your tire
Oh
breaks,
yeah,
or not breaks. Tires don't break. What are they?
yeah,
They something they deflate.
pop or
They
yeah.
pop, and so. But I think all of us, on our day-to-day basis as human beings, whether we admit it or not, we have to be adaptable. Like,
Hmm.
you wake up in the morning, and for us, like we have twins right now, and so like taking care of them and navigating, vocational life, and so you just I think that's just a skill like you develop. And I'd like to think of, gosh, I'm probably not of the five. I'd say this is probably number five, but I do consider myself to be flexible and
Hmm.
approachable, and
Oh yeah,
try to go with the flow no matter what's going on.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I want to be known for one of the as a person that, man, when things are iffy, that
Hmm.
person's just calm, up
Right.
for it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and again, even talking about these domains of like the relationship building, what
yeah,
I've always reminded myself with adaptability too is that it's all about for the good of the relationship.
yeah,
Like adapt people with strength of adaptability are the people who, when there's a group, right after college, you're hanging out with a bunch
mm,
of friends and stuff, and everyone's like, "Hey, what do we do tonight?" or "Where do we eat?" You're like, "Hey, like let's go with where everybody most wants to go." Or
yep,
I
that's a good
mean,
point.
and so
You're looking for a consensus. Yeah,
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 and again, it's not that they don't have an opinion.
yeah,
It's because I would imagine for you, there have probably been moments that you're like, now I have a stronger like conviction about this,
yeah.
so I'm going to speak up about it.
Correct.
But then there are other times that you're like, you know what, I,
If
like
this is consensus,
right,
yeah,
it's not as big of a deal to me, especially if it's going to cause
100%.
conflict or whatever.
Yes, and I can think of multiple instances, yeah, where
Hmm.
that or times when that's been the case, and
Yeah.
and so you and it goes back to also harmony, right?
Hmm.
And
Oh yeah.
there are certain things that probably we all people that are, would consider a non-negotiable. Or like, hey, I've got to, I will not go eat this restaurant tonight.
Right.
I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
kidding. That's a
Yeah.
silly example, but maybe um, I think in general, though, more often than not, if consensus is up for that, then you're kind of like, hey, we'll just go with that.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, and you said that out of those five, really adaptability is sort of the one that you really want to be known for. Like people will say, "Hey, yeah, that's Kyle. Man, he goes with the flow. He's adaptable." And in my work with strengths, I've seen strengths that I would call them core strengths that sort of everything else sort of revolves around that one,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
feeds into that. All of our strengths pair with one another anyway, so they all are influencing each other in that regard too. But even how you see adaptability like pairing itself with empathy, with harmony, with developer, includer,
yeah.
like you.
I think it feels like a natural. I think that harmony piece
Hmm.
naturally kind of. I think it naturally kind of goes together because in a lot of ways, I think people that are adaptable
Hmm.
probably are more often than not aren't the loudest voice in the room, or
Hmm.
or maybe they lead in a way that they choose to not be domineering,
Hmm.
or say it's kind of in my way the highway, or
Yeah.
but hey, as an adaptable person, I'm going to listen to, hey, as a developer, I'm going to listen to what I hear from the people that are here,
Yeah.
and I'm going to kind of steer them. I'm not going to be that person that tells, hey, this is what we're going to do,
Hmm.
but I'm going to adapt and kind of just go with the flow. And so I think harmony, I would say,
Yeah.
because you're thinking, all right, if this is what the group wants and
Hmm.
this is healthy or this
Yeah.
is not a bad thing, then I'm just gonna go with that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say nope. We got to go this way, or we
Mhm.
got to do this, or
Yeah.
we're gonna change this, because this is what I want, right?
Hmm.
That's not
Oh
the
yeah.
way to do it.
Well, no, and I that the language of voice I think is so key too, and I appreciate you saying that. I think that's probably where you and I are very different, even in terms of like the loudness of our voices.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because I'm the kind of guy that I've had to learn over the years to go, hey, is my voice too loud here?
Gotcha.
Do I need to like roll it back? Do I
Yeah.
need to leave space for some of those other voices
Right.
like yours?
Yeah.
Have there been times in your life where you've been like, man, I need to like be a
Yeah.
little bit more assertive with my
Right.
voice
Well,
or something?
I would say in general, you know, two things. I think as the way God made me, I don't think I necessarily probably have this booming voice that pierces through a crowd of folks. But also, John, and this is unique when I think about the strengths. It kind of takes you down
Hmm.
memory lane. Before I entered into ministry many years ago, I was a basketball coach,
Hmm.
and so I spent about 5 years in coaching. So I was around people that raise their voice for a living,
Yeah.
and I saw the ways that aided to winning, but I also saw the ways that was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
And as a sports guy in general, I'm very aware of that way of using your voice to motivate others.
Hmm.
And I think there's ways to do that.
Yeah.
I think some of the best leaders, John, pick their spots when to use their voice in a loud way.
Yep.
The people that just scream into the sun all the time, their players or their team may perform for them out of fear,
Hmm.
but not because it's healthy or they
Yeah.
they want to run through a brick wall for their leader.
Sure. Sure.
The people that I think kind of pick their spots when to use their voice loudly.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm still growing in that world, but I'd like to be the kind of person that, hey, oh man, when he's really passionate about something, he means it.
Right.
Um, but that goes back to also just kind of being even keel
Right.
and then knowing when to, hey, I need to really step up my voice, or I really need to say, hey, I mean that.
Hmm.
And so that's, I think, part of the journey from what I've, how I've grown and been around people and leaders, and
Oh yeah.
there's nothing wrong with using your voice passionately, like at all. But I think sometimes when it's used to elicit a response,
Hmm.
then it more often than not, I don't think is the right way to approach things.
Well, and if you're high intensity all the time, then
You stress
it's
people
really
out.
hard for people to discern. Like, hey, this is how he's operating all the time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
is there excitement? Like people, even my kids know. They're like, hey, how? They'll ask an opinion about something. I'm like, it was okay. And they're like, do you ever say anything's great? And
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I do. But you know that like I'm not going to say that all the time.
Unless
I
it,
I
yeah.
know people who, man, they're always talking about how amazing and wonderful stuff is. And I'm like, well, if everything's amazing, then nothing's amazing, right?
This is probably how you answer post-concert analysis, right? It
Right.
was all
Oh,
right,
oh, sure.
but when John says it was epic,
Like,
then
yeah,
you
when I
know it
say
was.
top 10, like I'm going, hey, like
Yeah,
that's a top 10
yeah.
concert for me. People are going to go, oh, I've
Okay,
seen
tell me
his
more.
posts.
Tell
Like,
me
I know,
more. I
right?
know he. Yeah, I
Oh,
got you.
yeah. Yeah.
Good point.
So, yeah. And I think too, even as you were saying some of that, Kyle, like this idea of just quiet. I'm curious where learner is in your strengths too, in your 34. I mean, overall, because I just get that sense from you of really just quietly taking it all in and absorbing stuff and saying, okay, hey, what do I take out of this? I mean, it feels like for you, nothing's wasted. If that's a good, I don't know if that resonates with you at
I'd
all.
like to hope that's true of
Yeah,
me. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So, like every experience, you go, hey, I'm going into this saying there's something that I'm going to get out of
for
this.
sure.
And again, I think, yes, developers a relationship building strength, but there's also I mean, there's development in ourselves, right? And the fact that we're always changing, but then there's also situations that you go, hey, like there's change that can happen here, and we can develop the
Definitely.
situation. So um, be curious to.
I need to go back and look where learner, because it lists all the. I need to
Mhm.
go back and look where that was.
I'm curious. I wouldn't be surprised if it
Yeah.
was higher, just because in the time that I've known you, just the way that you really thoughtfully process things, Kyle,
Yeah.
and just and really, yeah, taking every moment as, hey, there's something I could do. Well, plus you're so good at asking questions. I mean, I
Can you expand on that a little
every single time that we get together, I'm always like, Kyle's gonna have some really good questions to ask, and he's always gonna challenge me because I'm gonna be like, oh man, I'm gonna have to think about what you asked. So and I think at the heart of that is, yes, the relationship part,
Right.
but I think also like
Curious.
it's curious. It's
As
curiosity.
Ted
Ted
Lasso would
Lasso?
say, be curious, not judgmental.
Absolutely.
Isn't that the
Oh,
we
totally.
need more of
Yep.
that? Yeah.
Um, so yeah, with strengths, there's a lot of talk about what is it that I bring to a situation? What is it that I need from a situation? I had a conversation with a friend last week, and he was telling me about some struggles that he was having and stuff. And I say, like, my superpower is my strategic arranger pairing together, that I have this
Yeah.
ability to be able to sort of fly above and see these connections
Yeah.
and stuff. But I started pointing out and calling stuff out and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm seeing in this." And I think when we come to a situation and we pull back a little bit and say, "Okay, I know what I'm bringing to this situation based on my strength set, and I also know what I need." I mean, whether it's a marriage relationship,
For
whether
sure.
it's relationship with
Yeah.
congregants in our churches,
For
or
sure.
neighbors, or
Yeah.
children, or whatever it is, just having that awareness is such a huge help. At least it has been for me to go, hey, this is what I know I'm bringing to the table. This is what, like, my superpower is. This is what I'm good at. But here's what I need, and I need people to give me, because it may not be something that I'm as uh, adept with, I guess. So.
Interesting. And I got to thinking as you were sharing, John, when we enter into a setting, whether it's we're at the dinner table at home, or whether we're at work, or with in any situation, I find myself, and this is not a strength, but I think we all have a desired outcome.
Mhm.
Like we're thinking, hey, I've got a meeting coming up, and I have some hopes for this, but it got me thinking as we talk about strengths, how much how much more fruitful would those settings be? And we've talked about this a little bit, but if we thought about, hey, there is going to be an outcome from this meeting, but if I bring my strengths into this setting, even if the outcome is not what I would love,
Mhm.
my voice would be heard, or I would aid the conversation. I don't
Yeah.
know, because I think about, so often than not, we may view things as a win or a loss,
Mhm.
whether or not the outcome was what we wanted.
Yeah.
But if I think if you're if I am, and this is just these are my strengths, but
Sure.
what's beautiful is everybody has their own strengths. But if
Right.
I'm bringing empathy and harmony and adaptability to any conversation, that's going to help the conversation. And if
Right.
you bring your strengths to it, and even if the outcome is not what we wanted,
Hmm.
then I think it's still healthier at the end.
Yeah. Well, even I think one of the things too that I've found helpful is even just sharing some of those expected outcomes to begin with,
Yeah,
because
yeah, that's good.
they're it's like expectations,
Mhm,
right? Like
mhm.
we all come to a situation, we've got expectations. Some of them
Yes,
are higher, some of them are lower.
right.
Um, but and I've seen this countless times in my own life. Like, I haven't expressed those
Oh
expectations.
yeah, yeah.
And then when somebody doesn't meet those expectations, I get all upset. And
See,
it's like,
I you're not
whoa,
alone in that.
whoa.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's even helpful for us to say, because to your point, like, our strengths will color those expectations. And chances are, you've got two people with two different strength sets. They both share in the beginning, hey, this is what I want the outcome to
Uh
be,
huh.
or this
Uh
is
huh.
what my expectation is. The other person shares, they're like, man, those things weren't even on my radar, you know? And yet, when we do that, I think it gives space.
Yeah.
I mean, plays into all the strengths that
Yeah.
we talked
Yeah.
about, right? It gives space for people to feel seen and heard.
Mhm.
It gives space for them to feel valued and to know that,
And that just
hey,
lowers the
it
temperature
matters.
in general. It always just
Right,
lowers the temperature.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So it's invitation. Like I keep using that word invitational a lot in some of
Yeah.
my
It's a good
conversations. That
word.
we're inviting people into these spaces,
Mhm.
and the more invitational that we can be, I think the more like some of this stuff really plays out.
Yeah.
So um, so yeah, when you you talked a little bit about conflict earlier. I think conflict is one of the areas in life where strengths really, I think, manifest themselves a lot. Where you see like, what's my motivation here? Do I just want to like tuck it away? Do I
Yeah.
want to expose it? But how have you seen? I mean, even in meetings, like with people that can have it. I mean, church
Yeah.
meetings can always
For
kind of
sure.
escalate and
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
uh, how have you seen even like your empathy and that ability to be able to say, "Hey, I might not agree with you,
Mhm.
but I understand." And and have you found yourself even trying to help other people see what you've seen?
Yeah. Um, that's a really good question, John. And I think gosh, it's really important to know, or I think it's important. But like conflict is, when we talk about conflict, sometimes I feel like we make it almost easier than sound easier than it
Sure.
is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But, I think it just goes back to the way we view one another. And, if I, in any situation, if I am seeing another, and obviously a person of faith. So if I see somebody, hey, as an image bearer
Mm-hmm.
of God, then that should alter my perception of how the grace that I show with them, and the wanting to understand them. And hey, if being an includer matters to me,
Mm-hmm.
if we let conflict fester, then being somebody will not feel included. And so, gosh, by no means am I perfect at this, but I think it goes back to just, hey, if you it sounds simple, but I do think, if I care about you,
Mm-hmm.
then even if I disagree with you, I want to love you through this disagreement. And
Yeah.
maybe after we disagree on this, let's quickly shift gears to some common ground that we have, and kind of, uh, maybe not. I don't know if you need to lighten the room or lighten the mood, but
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about something that we know is a common value, that's fun. It's fun, or
Yeah.
peaceful. That sometimes has helped me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I John, sometimes I use humor as an escapism
Mm-hmm.
tactic, but I also think humor can really help a situation too. And so you
Sure.
don't want to use humor to like gloss over anything important, but
Right.
sometimes it's in the midst of conflict. Hey, maybe after we have something really difficult, we switch quickly to something that we can all agree on, or that makes us laugh, or that
Mm-hmm.
helps to ease the tension a little bit. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I think going back to it, it's just, hey, if I care about you, I want to try to see this from your perspective. And if I truly love people,
Yeah.
then we got to work through it. And then I think, like I just mentioned, hey, maybe we can find some common ground afterwards.
Right.
Um, I think, and I would say your listeners agree, but conflict is not easy to work
No.
through, and
No. Nope.
um, there's no solution. I will say, John, there's a time and a place, and this is a different. Maybe taking us off on a tangent here, but sometimes the best thing is just to have an in-person conversation with somebody, or a phone call.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not perfect at that. Sometimes I will go the email route, or if that's, but it's always better to just pick up the phone or talk
Right.
in person. And or if it's a committee meeting, having a conversation in person. It seems like it's just easier to have
Oh yeah.
dialogue in person, because you can't read body language. You can't.
Yeah.
And I really would be curious, 20 years from now, how conflict is resolved,
Mm, yeah.
because um, and it's always, I know we kind of blame everything on technology, but in general, it's very easy to text somebody or to have a full conversation
Right.
that way.
Yeah.
And uh, technology is amazing and such a gift, but it can also be you can lose that interpersonal face-to-face
Oh
dialogue
yeah,
and
yeah.
just talking to people,
Yep.
which is important.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate what you said even about, the reading body language and stuff, because communication, which is in my top 5, like,
Mm,
I mean, half of
I
it's
see that.
verbal
Yeah,
and half of it's nonverbal.
yeah,
And
yeah,
being able to read the nonverbals, and I could tell you stories about the number of times that
yeah.
I've encountered in digital communication.
Wow.
When you take that out of the equation,
Yeah,
it- the potential for conflict to rise,
it's
I feel
pretty
like it almost exponentially
doubles. Yeah,
increases,
yeah.
because you can't read like sarcasm, you
Oh
can't
no, I
read like
know.
tonality and all these different things, and it
Yeah,
becomes
yeah,
super hard, almost to the point that there have been times that I've been like, you know what, in certain relationships I need to go like cold turkey and cut some of this stuff out,
yeah, yeah.
because there's so much room for, it's like the devil's playground, right?
No
Like you
doubt.
you just create this
Yeah,
space that has so much potential for conflict
yeah.
and
Or
misunderstanding.
you wrongfully assume, oh, they put a period after this phrase,
Oh yeah.
and not an exclamation point, John.
Oh
Are
yeah.
they mad at me?
Right.
Have you ever, yeah, done that
Yeah.
for
Oh
sure?
well, and
But that
and
was a short response, and it could have just been they were in a hurry.
hmm
But you might think, oh my gosh, that person's mad at me. I need to call. I need to figure out what's going
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's and again, like I'm grateful for people who have much more high intuition towards things
on.
like that, because I'm not always as aware of that. I'm
Right,
not naturally aware of that like
right,
you
right.
would be. And so having friends, people who I'm connected with, who I can go, hey, tell me what I'm missing
Yeah,
here. Tell me what I'm seeing. I mean, it's such a gift to have that, and to go, hey, like I need other people here
yeah,
who are going to help me to see, like, hey, this is what I need.
yeah.
So,
I'm with you.
um, so if people were to, you mentioned before that idea of like, hey, I want people to know me for being adaptable. I mean, even the aspirational aspect of that, would you say that if somebody like Lisa, your wife, or
Yeah.
somebody who's known you for years, like if they were to come up with 2 words to describe you, you think adaptable would be one of them,
I
or?
and John, I don't want to mess our podcast up. I don't know if they would.
Yeah.
I think the some other maybe descriptors of adaptable, yes. So here's kind of a long answer, but you know, years ago I heard someone, I was the phrase like a person of peace,
Mm-hmm.
and just somebody that's approachable, and I think of that. That's another kind of a different kind of phrase for saying, but I like to think adaptability and a person piece are similar.
Sure.
Whereas you know what you're getting when you approach that person,
Mm-hmm.
where they're going to be comfortable, they're going to be able to go with the flow, they're going to be approachable. They're always going to kind of be that, not always even keel, but just what you're getting, and
Mm.
so I think when I think about at least the way the strength kind of encapsulates adaptability. I do think I'm there. I think it's just I think like any human being, sometimes I'm probably more adaptable than others, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah. Now, how about like on the opposite side of things? People are like, yeah, this, if I need this, Kyle may not be the person that I'm
well,
gonna.
no, I'm sure like if you need me to fix something, I mean we're all in trouble. If like I have a broken thing on my car, I'm like, well, who can we call? Or
hmm
if like I'm not a
Yeah.
handy guy, right?
Okay.
And so there are certain things, yeah. But if they're like, I think people can count on me if they're like,
hmm
he's willing to help. He's
Yeah.
willing to show up for me.
Right.
I want to always be known for that.
Yeah. Oh, that's.
I'll be there. I'll hold the tool for you, and I'll cheer you on,
hmm
or, yeah,
Oh yeah.
or like I'll try to help you fix this.
Yeah.
But I may not. We all have different gifts in that sense. But someone that shows up, I think,
Yeah.
is
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now, with these high relationship building strengths, have you ever found yourself like lacking or even wishing for focus? Do you feel like sometimes you get easily distracted from things, or do you feel like
for
you can?
sure.
Okay.
I think. I think people, and this is just kind of doing some self reflection.
Sure.
I would say people that have this, maybe that relationship is the commonality.
Mhm.
You you desire to meet the needs of a lot of people,
Mm.
and you might overdo
Yeah.
what you can handle, or
Mhm.
you're constantly thinking, "Hey, I need to check in on it."
Right.
And this is maybe from a ministerial perspective. You're like, "I need to check on these 12 people,
Yeah.
or I need to
Right.
call that person. I need to do this." And just as human beings, we our bandwidth is what our bandwidth is, and so
Right.
even for someone not in ministry, whatever you do, I think sometimes people that have that high relationship uh, desire might try to take on maybe too much than they
Mhm.
can handle,
Yeah.
or they try to carry juggle too many things at once
Yeah.
at the expense of, I need to be in a relationship with all these folks,
Right.
and I need to encourage all these people, or check in on all these people, or um, and so I would say that might be one. I don't know if it's a pitfall, but just a something to be aware of
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the relationship thing.
Well, and even along those lines, I'm curious too, as you feel like you've grown, you've matured, you've entered into new roles in life, dad, pastor, husband, all those
Yeah.
other things. Have you found things that have been more helpful for you to go, hey, I understand what my bandwidth is and my
Yeah.
capacity
Yeah.
is, and I'm able to like use these tools to help me go, hey, at the end of the day, it's not that I want anyone to be unhappy, but I'm willing to like step back and
Yeah.
let someone be disappointed
Uh huh.
because you knew your limitations or
For
something.
absolutely, and I would say, John, this is still a work in progress, and Lisa and I talk about this all the time, but you got to set boundaries, and you
Mm.
just have to set margins. And you really left out one really important thing when describing me. I'm a pickleball player too, John. I'm just kidding, but and that's been a we all need outlets. I know
Oh,
cycling is for you, and
yep,
because let's be real. Like if you are not your best self, and that
right.
sounds like a t-shirt, um, you really can't live out these strengths
Hmm.
to your best ability.
Yeah,
And um, we need to take quiet time for for whether it's for those of us time in prayer or
yep.
in scripture, or for others it might be just meditation or
Hmm.
going for walks or what have you. And I know for me, when I and we I joke about this kind of with myself sometimes. I grew up in the church, John,
Hmm.
and you're taught at an early age, carve out time for quiet time.
Right.
Almost, like it's we're all going to do this, but we really don't.
Yeah.
And but man, when you do,
Hmm.
it's so beneficial. And
Yeah.
carve out time for margin.
Yep.
You can be there for others more when
Hmm.
you do.
Yeah.
And I say that as a person that has not always excelled at that. And
Hmm.
so but I would say to anyone, like, you need to really find margin in your life and find things that give you space and solitude and really build you up so that you can live out your strengths. And you know, I joked with you earlier, but I'm a sports guy, and I
Hmm.
really do enjoy pickleball and basketball and doing those things. And so the more I do of that, that fits into my family and vocational
Oh
ministry
yeah.
life, the better.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I would encourage anybody to do that. I'm
Mm.
sure you feel the same about
No.
getting
Oh
the
yeah.
bike.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could go on for hours probably about
Have
that,
you
but
ridden today, John?
I did
You
not.
did not.
I reluctantly rode yesterday because my son wanted to
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
He got a taste of it on Sunday,
Nice.
and then I just
How
I've
many
been
how many miles?
so on Sunday we went like 26, and
Oh,
yesterday I took him 22. We went up and down
wow.
the fall line.
That's
So
cool.
so yeah. Well, I'm curious too, just sort of winding down,
Yeah.
but in terms of, was there anything in particular that kind of made you go, hey, I need to, just what you were talking about, I
Yeah.
really need to know my margin, know
Yeah.
my limitations,
Mhm.
and I'm going to do this. What I mean, not to say that it always happens because of some crisis or whatever, but do you feel like that was a gradual like evolution for you, or was there
Yeah.
something in particular that made you go, oh man, if I don't do this now, I'm gonna like
Yeah.
reap the
Well, I think a
consequences
couple
later?
things. and gosh, John, I'm not. I know people listening to this are at different stages in their lives,
Oh,
but I
sure.
think becoming a parent,
Hmm.
obviously changes you in big ways.
Yep.
And when our daughter was born, Naomi, kind of shortly after her, it was kind of close to the pandemic, and that was just a heightened time of anxiety for all of us. For me definitely, and just a hard season. And I think becoming a parent, and you want to be healthy,
Hmm.
and not just for yourself, but for your
Yeah.
family. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I know as a dad, I'm just very motivated to be healthy in multiple areas, right?
Hmm.
Relationally, well, obviously as a dad, but just in my family, relationally, physically, emotionally. And so that's just a big motivating factor. And um, again, I stressed this a few times. I'm not a finished product. I have a lot of growth to do, but I think just I think being a dad of three and a husband to someone I love dearly, there's a high level of motivation just to be emotionally healthy
Yeah.
and present, um, and then uh, I care deeply about being a pastor, and so I
Hmm.
want to be emotionally healthy there,
Sure.
um, and so. Kind of setting up the right rhythm of life is important. And
Yeah.
so, oh man, those are big motivating factors.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's great.
yeah,
Cool. Any other sort of last insights that
yeah.
you
No, I think this
would
is a
add?
great. I think this is a great podcast journey, and I think I've done a couple of like personality type things, and
Uh
I
huh.
probably I'm not just telling you this because we're doing a podcast about it, but I resonated the most with this one,
Hmm.
and I felt the most seen, I think,
Okay.
and but also the most. It's different, I think when we eh, do an assessment, sometimes we can kind of wallow into it a little bit,
Hmm.
or succumb to it a little bit in
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
negative sense.
Sure.
But this really, I think, has motivates you a little bit to.
Hmm.
Um, it's interesting because I think your strengths can also be not your weaknesses, but something you just need to be aware of
Oh
too.
yeah.
And so I think bringing these into any setting of your life can be really helpful.
Yeah.
And so I think they did a good job of crafting an assessment that really gets a good baseline of who you are.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'm all
I
for it.
appreciate. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
thanks for saying that. Yeah, because I 100% agree. I wouldn't spend as much time on them
No
as I
doubt.
do.
And I'm not. The others are good too.
Oh,
Not.
sure.
But I think
Right.
this. I like that. There's not. It's not just like, okay, Kyle, you are an empathetic person,
Right.
or Kyle, you care about harmony. But they
Hmm.
give you these top five.
Yep.
Well, they give you the list, but like, I just think it's nice to know that your top five. You don't feel just pigeonholed into one.
Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah. Well, and the beauty, I mean, part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast is because every single conversation that I have with
Hmm.
someone and the uniqueness of who they are, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how many other people I know with empathy, developer, harmony,
Right.
includer, adaptability, uh, everything is so dependent upon everything else. And
Definitely.
so, I mean, I encountered someone who had a strength that I've seen many times, but all of a sudden it was behaving very differently
Wow.
based on what was around it.
Yep.
And I'm going,
Yep.
okay, I need to press in here and understand, because ultimately, like, that's my desire, is to go, hey, when I can understand other people,
Yeah.
it's going to be so much easier for me. And again, it's not something that I naturally or intuitively do all the time. So,
Well,
but
and I know, John. I always look at things through a sports lens, and
oh yeah,
but I think there's such a it works so well.
oh sure,
Um, I mean, what makes Danny Hurley such a great basketball coach is he knows the strengths of his players,
yes,
and he puts them in a spot to be
right,
successful. And
yep,
obviously, I had UConn basketball reference, but
yeah,
yeah, the best coaches, they know, all right, this player, um, he or she is a 3-point shooter, so we need to get her the ball at 3-point line.
right,
This is a great encourager. This is a great passer of the ball. This is a great rebounder. So there's different strengths, and
right,
so but that we need them all as a part of the
oh
team.
yeah.
And
Well, and
um,
what a beautiful thing when we can do that as leaders with
yeah,
people, right? That we have the opportunity to see people
yeah,
to see them use the strengths that they have so that they do feel valued.
Yeah.
And then again, it's like a well-oiled machine in some ways,
Absolutely.
because everything's working almost effortlessly. That's the language that Gallup uses all the time, is that idea of effortlessly happening. And as pastors, we're always called into things that we're not always feeling like, hey, this isn't really
Yeah.
my zone or my
No,
sweet spot.
absolutely.
But
No doubt.
hopefully it's not like 80% of the time.
Correct.
And gosh, what a gift that can be for other people when we can help them like find that 80% time to go, hey, like I'm going to help you find that place so that, and yeah, whether
It's a
you're a
good
coach,
feeling.
a pastor, a teacher, whatever it is, when you have that ability to be able to help people with that,
Yeah.
I just think it's a gift, not only for you, because you find somebody who has stuff that you don't, but it's a gift for them because all of a sudden they're like, wow, like this feels amazing.
It does.
And it
Yeah.
feels like they're
This is my
hardly,
lane.
yeah,
Yes, I can thrive in this role, and they're not asking me to do something I'm not comfortable with.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, John. Appreciate
Thank you all for listening. And if you have comments or questions, you can send an email to, I guess there's a bunch of Deep Waters podcasts out there. So the email is just deepwaterstrengths@gmail.com. So
There's only one Deepwater. Let's get that.
but would love for you to share that out and comment and listen and do whatever. Play nice too online, especially these days. But thanks for joining us, and we will see you again soon.